Hey guys, Chris here again, and we are back in the workshop. And today I want to build a Chinese cleaver, and I want to build it out of this chunk of 80V2. We have a really nice thickness because I want to make a special grind on this specific cleaver. So first task is going to be cutting out the cleaver with my angle grinder and my belt grinder. So I've got the cleaver now profiled, and next step is going to be drilling out the handle holes. There's a reason why I just talked so quickly, because right next to my workshop, they're just now unloading a bunch of material. And this is what I talked about. This is it. I love it. So the thick boy is getting slimmer and thinner. I've removed a lot of material. And now it is actually time to put the sole into this cleaver, and that means we have to heat treat it. I'm with carbon steel. This is 80CRV2. You quench it in oil, and therefore I have to stick it into my heat treating oven at the right temperature and then quench it in oil to let it cool down, and then we should have a hardened blade. So the cleaver is now hardened. But before I can work with the cleaver, I also have to temper it and to draw down the hardness just a little bit. Now there's a lot of stresses in the blade due to the heat treatment and all that kind of stuff, and the steel is like glass, and we just want to draw that down just a little bit so we have a nice edge retention but also a really durable knife in the end, and therefore we gotta temper it. Now, the cleaver, the Chinese cleaver, is also tempered, and I can go into my grinding room now to finish up the grind and also make the special grind, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the flat grinding part of grinding this cleaver is now done. So let's now talk about the special grind I want to add to this Chinese cleaver. And what I want to do is I want to do a 32-inch hollow grind on both sides. So this should be 32 inches, and I'm using not a flat platen, a radius platen for that has a radius in it, and that will remove a lot of material and will also have less friction during the cutting and hopefully no food sticking. 36 inch. Well, we would all hope we'll have 36 inches. So guys, this is now the radius platen, which has a 36-inch radius. I misspelled beforehand. I thought it's 32, but it is actually 36, and you can see it is not flat, and this can resemble a 32-inch hollow grinding wheel, but I couldn't fit a 36-inch hollow grinding wheel on my grinder, and therefore we have to use this radius platen by Benke. So I'm now done with grinding on the belt grinder, and I hoped I don't have to do any kind of hand sanding, but there are some uneven lines in the grind that I want to hand sand out because I couldn't get them really out with the belt grinder. Especially here, the plunge lines, especially on this side, it was super hard to grind it out, and therefore I want to just refine it with some hand sanding. The cleaver is now partially hand sanded. It went kinda okay, and I'm now at 180 grit finish. I will do the rest of the hand sanding after I'm done with the handle. And speaking of the handle, and say it with me guys, we are doing it in my style. I'm going to use, of course, some screws and also some G10 because this is my channel and I do whatever I want, so therefore I want to make a really cool Chinese cleaver with some rock pattern. So the handle is now done and I've added my stripe pattern to it. And now that the handle is done, I have to go back and do some more hand sanding sadly, because this is still a 180 grit finish and I want to take it up to a 400 grit finish. The cleaver is now hand sanded and I don't want to leave it just as it is. I want to try something out. Because Moorlander, EDC, one of you guys, sent me some British mustard to try it out if we get a different forced patina on a knife. And I thought, why not? We have a big surface. Let's try this British mustard out. The cleaver is now fully assembled and the finish looks amazing, but we have to do one more thing. Because now I have to sharpen it up and I want to use my Hoyle 3 Pro for that. So the Chinese cleaver is now sharpened up and it is amazingly sharp and it was an amazing project. And if you want to get a hold of this Chinese cleaver in my style, the link is down below. It is now live in the online shop. And for those guys who don't want to buy a Chinese cleaver and you just want to support me, go hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you got any kind of questions, just drop them down below. And to all guys and maybe one girl who watched so far into the video, thank you for all the support and we'll see us in the next one. And then I'm also going to use some G10. That was a really bad impression. You know this guy in TikTok? LC sign. This dude. He is fine. He's my spiritual animal.
Gonna use some chicken. The finest chicken.
And I'm not sure if that is a cliche, but I'm just telling a story of my life. So when I was young me, smaller, I'm still not that big, but there's also a question inside. When I was younger, when I was in school, still not thinking about knife making, just painting my Warhammer figures, there was this Chinese restaurant right next to me. And let's say it just didn't look as cleanly. But he had the most amazing food there. And it was dirt cheap and it was tasting so well. And then I went to a really good Chinese restaurant and the food wasn't really good and it was super expensive. So is there like a correlation between really bad restaurant but really good food and like really good restaurant, good looking, but the food is not as good? I don't know, drop it down below into the comment section. And for those guys who don't want to have a Chinese folder, it's not a folder,